Ward. Here. McNatt. Knopfsinger.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Essig.
Do we have someone with the student council to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks very much. Can you state your name and what grade you are?
I'm Matthew Bartleman. I'm a senior here and part of swim and student council and various other activities here.
Okay, you're welcome to stay if you like, and we appreciate you leading us in the pledge. And you can go if you like also.
I'm pretty sure swimming's having a decent year this year.
Yeah, we are.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so far we've only been beaten by one team, and it was Dunlap, I think, but they've always been consistently pretty good at swimming. So we have probably the largest team in the area with about 50 kids. Yeah.
It is something to see. I dropped by one of the swim meets in your freestyle 50. They had 5 heats, and they were mostly Washington kids. It was pretty impressive. So,
Yeah.
What's your event?
I do some breaststroke and then mainly freestyle events, like the 50 free or 100 free.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there visitors and correspondents that would like to approach the board tonight? You want to come up with
Anybody else? Is there somebody else first? No? It's me again. Meg Sutherland, 1318 Coventry Drive, Washington. I think that's how it's supposed to go, right? I am here. I am the secretary of the Washington Lacrosse Board of Directors, and that role must also have the messenger built into it. I apparently have been stuck in that role position too. So I'm here as a messenger, don't shoot me, to update you on a few things. And Matt, who just flew out of here, failed to mention that he's a cross-country runner and was at state this year, and he's also a top lacrosse player. He hopes to go to the Air Force and play lacrosse. So anyway, let me update you on a few things. One, in the fall, the Washington Lacrosse Board of some board members met with Dr. Freeman and Herb, the AD, to talk about looking into having lacrosse become a high school sport. And at that time they said at the beginning of this year they might try to do some actions to see if that's going to be a possibility. They might do a survey to kids to see what the interest levels are at both the boys and girls level, among some other things. And they're looking into that, and we're looking forward to hearing back from them. But we also know that even though we're 16 days into the year, that means you're well into planning for the 2018 school year. Some things might already be completed for that, but we'd like you to still think about lacrosse for the 2018-19 school year. Our lacrosse program is working behind the scenes to get ready for the season. It kicks off the last week of February, and we did want to mention that we have a plethora of coaches, but 2 of them come from the Washington schools. John Getler, who is at Washington Middle School, will be coaching lacrosse this year, and Zach Davis, who is a coach and teacher here at the high school, will be voluntarily coaching our high school level lacrosse team. So there is a lot of interest still in the community as well as within the schools who've jumped on that. And finally, I know a concern is that there's not a lot of local schools still that have moved to IHSA. Now that's a sanctioned sport, and to add it as a sport at their high school, Dunlap has. Peoria Notre Dame, working very hard at that. They have a very strong girls program and boys program. They currently have 31 boys on their roster, and it hasn't even started. They have no feeder program. They don't have a youth program. That's these Peoria Notre Dame players are just coming from all over. And it's not an IHSA sport, and yet they still have the players coming. So they are really looking to go for next year. They also had a number of seniors graduate that have gone on to play D3 college lacrosse. Bloomington Normal, same situation. They have a strong youth girls and boys program at the high school level also. And they're in the situation, as you know, Bloomington and Normal, two different school districts, but they're working together to create a co-opt high school IHSA team also. So anyway, just some updates. There is no conference so far in lacrosse in the state of Illinois like we would have. You might be thinking, well, Peoria Notre Dame, they're not in our conference. Lacrosse doesn't have a conference. It won't for quite a few years. So anybody within close proximity is a conference. That's who they play. So P&D would be someone Dunlap if Bloomington Normal went, and then up to Plainfield, Minooka, so right at the 55 and I-80 corridor of those schools would be our conference, so to speak. So that's the update. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for
Oh,
May while you're here? While she's here?
sorry, I just.
Well, we appreciate the update, and we have
Okay.
been discussing it, but I don't believe anything has been finalized.
I'll just give you a real quick follow-up. I know Herb is looking into what's going on at Bloomington Normal now. He's talked to Notre Dame, he's also talking to Springfield and a couple other area groups that have basically said, if we go, they'll go.
They are all looking at each other, kind of like,
Yeah.
who's next? Who's
Yeah.
next?
It is kind of one of those things, and we do get the feeling that the dominoes are starting to topple. So, anyway, we'll continue to look into it a little more. We'll have some more discussion on this probably in the near future.
Thank you. Is there any other visitors and correspondents that want to approach the board?
My name is Beth Martinez, and do you need my address? How does this work? Do
You can
need-
give it.
I was just kind of here in support for lacrosse. My son, Isaac Martinez, he's playing the pep band right now in the gym. And he wanted to come tonight because when he had heard that one of the factors was that, there wasn't a lot of schools in the area and there was worry about travel and different things to find schools to play against. He said, but Mom, in football we travel, in band we travel. So I just wanted to mention that the lacrosse program has great support, from families and stuff, and I know they'd be definitely willing to do the same, traveling that the other sports do. And but he said, Mom, can you go and talk for me? And I said, yeah. So he's like, I'm going to try to walk over if I can, but anyway, I've been really impressed with maybe not as crazy as those band parents, but but no, we have a great group of parents. So just wanted to mention we will travel. We travel all the time with lacrosse too. Travel lacrosse, but it's the same kids doing that. This club. So
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to approach the board? Okay, moving on to the reports. 5.1 is the first semester dean's report, and Scott Foster put that in our board book. Hopefully you have a chance to take a look at that. 5.2, the enrollment report. That's also in your packet. If you had any questions, now's the time to ask about it. Financial reports, Dr. Joe Sander.
Okay, I sent this out and it's a little small, so it's hard for me to read off that. The top update, it was just, it's kind of one step forward and taking two steps back. That's the veto that the governor did this past week. And so basically it just holds our funds to exactly the same amount that they were last year. And so the evidence-based funding model is kind of put on hold until they can override the veto. And so there's just a little blurb about that. You can see where our expenses budgeted and year-to-date. We should be at the 50% mark, and we're tracking just a little bit underneath that. And of course, the revenues, we receive those front-loaded, so the revenues are tracking about 75–80% in that. Here's the investment report. It shows our updated investments, where they're at. And then our insurance report. I want to point out December was a good month. Anytime that we're below the black line there is a good month for our insurance. And I did want to point out, I don't have a reconciliation of what the health trust is, the balance is currently sitting at. But if you're looking at last year to date and this year, the expenditures, what we have to keep in mind is for medical, that is going into what we have paid for, whether it is on claims and that, but we are still carrying a rather large balance in our health trust, of which we have to make claims. And so even though it looks like it's 3 million and or 3.13 million and 3.11 million, a more fair assessment is to look at what we have in the health trust account for this year as where we sit right now, and it's slightly under $1 million, and so over 800,000. So that was one of our goals and one of our targets, and so we're making that, and we're very optimistic that the rest of the year will follow suit. So come probably April timeframe, we'll start sending out rebids for our reinsurance. And hopefully, if we continue along this trend, we'll even get some better rates for the next year. Okay, that's all I have. Questions?
Thank you, Joe. Putting that together, it's easy to read that way from those charts. Moving on to 6, discussion and information items. 6.1, discussion of the 2018-2019 school calendar.
Now, this is a discussion item, you're not acting on it tonight, but as we've looked at it, and I met with the other superintendents in the area, the start dates might be a little different next year, but we have different animals that we have to wrestle in order to build the calendar. One of the things that we have to make sure at the high school that we do is really even out our semesters as much as possible, because we end first semester at Christmas break, and it's important that we're giving them the full semester. If you're off too much, if you have, say, an 84-96 split, you're going to have issues on the backside with courses like driver's ed, actually any of our courses, because you've shortchanged kids 4 or 5 days on the front end and added 4 or 5 more days on the back end. So that's part of the reason for the earlier start date with the 13th. I think the other districts were talking about possibly the 15th as their Teacher Institute Day. So we're off a couple days, but nothing too massive. The other thing is, remember, we're air conditioned, so it's not that we have kids sitting in classrooms that are 105 degrees. The things that you might note, the Christmas break, very similar to this year's winter break, whatever you like to call it. The 21st will be our Teachers Institute Day, so the 22nd, 23rd, and as you can see, Monday and Tuesday of the following week are Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So we tried to stay as close to that as possible. Honestly, the 2 weeks we went with this year was very well received by everybody, so they'd like to see that continue, so that is in here as well. The thing that is different actually sits in March and April. If you look in April, now start there, the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, that's Easter weekend. Okay, we traditionally give a little break there for families on Good Friday and the opportunity to travel, then to get back on that Monday. The problem with the time frame is If we were to tie our spring break into that, you would be here for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, graduation. That's way too tight. And so we moved spring break up into the last week in March. And by the way, every one of the superintendents like that idea. It's a very long stretch through February and March trying to get to that. And if you push that Easter break, if you put a spring break at the end of April, it just causes a lot of problems. So they like the idea of the spring break at the end of March. So that's new. It only added one additional NIA, which is not in attendance date to the second semester. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. We also discussed the fact that if Easter shows up in March again, we'll tie the spring break to Easter. But as long as it's this late in the calendar, we kind of like the idea of moving it up there. Right now, it's in the hands of the WEA. They're looking at it. Their calendar committee will be getting back with me back to me with any recommendations that they have. Right now, and honestly, I don't, just first glance, I don't think you're going to see any big changes coming from them. I think they'll probably like what we have proposed here. And when we do this, I'm usually talking with Sean Kerwin a lot about what they liked, what they didn't like, and try to keep it. For me, it's pretty easy. I'm here, whatever. So it doesn't bother me, start dates, end dates. I know I'm going to be here for them. So if it's more comfortable for teachers and they feel happier in what they do, that only better serves our kids. And that's how I feel about it. November, we do have the full-day parent-teacher conference. We'll have Thursday night would be a parent-teacher conference followed by Friday morning a parent-teacher conference. So that worked really well this year. They want to do the same type of schedule. So do you have any questions?
This particular calendar is very similar to this year's, but because the Easter weekend is actually the first weekend in April, I believe.
Yeah.
This year, so it moves, but this calendar is similar to what it is this year.
It is. It is.
Do we have a potential date set for graduation next year?
Next year? Yes, and you'll see that a little bit when we talk contracts with Bradley. Because I think the date is on that.
And just to confirm, it sounds like it, but the winter and the spring breaks align with the grade schools.
Yes. Yes, those, all four of us, when we talk about, when I say all four of us, I mean the superintendents from all the 4 Washington districts and St. Pat's as well. When we talk about that, we are all in agreement that Christmas break and spring break have to be the same. We can't stagger them out to different dates because that causes way too much trouble for families. So those breaks are always going to be the same. I will give you the answer to your question as soon as I open this up. We are looking at May 19th of 2019 for graduation. Any other questions?
And band is going. This works with band as well, because they have something, or that's in, yeah, it's in the. When is it?
You're thinking of this summer?
There's Minnesota,
That's this summer.
and then there's also the Florida one.
That is Thanksgiving
Okay. Yeah. so
next year.
that'll-
This should give them enough heads up. I know that the Thanksgiving trips, they take it out of next year.
I think they already have it scheduled. They leave on the Monday before Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
or
and
Tuesday. It's
They
all-
did that 2 years ago, went to Thanksgiving. That's usually.
Maybe it's
what they do.
Wednesday. They leave.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 6.2, discuss the top 10 recommendation.
Okay, this is more or less just a heads up. We are now in the phase of meeting. Had a meeting today with the department chairs, and we talked a little bit about top 10 designation, so we're trying to get together some parameters now to figure out how to go about this and what it might look like if we sweep top 10 out and bring in something new. Across the board, everybody we've met with and talked to kind of likes the idea, very similar to what they do at the universities with summa cum laude and cum laude. So we're talking about what would qualify for each of those areas now. And we're doing a little research, so pretty soon you'll get a recommendation from the group on how to move forward and what would happen. Just to take any concerns off the board, and I want to just say this out loud so everybody knows, we're not talking about doing this with this year's juniors, this year's sophomores. We could potentially consider the freshmen, or we could just consider the incumbent freshmen as well. So the change would be feathered in as the kids go through. We know that there was a lot of work put into what the kids are doing right now based on the current rules and the current designations. So we don't want to have a junior who spent 3 years working for a top 10 position, and all of a sudden they're like, no, sorry, we're not doing it. So don't, if you hear that concern out there, just be aware. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to better bring it into the future. And the reason I say this year's freshmen is because, believe it or not, they have a pretty regimented schedule as freshmen. This is not going to be a big upset in their apple cart. So.
Moving on to 6.3, school district library grant.
There it is.
And that's a nice grant.
Yep.
Tom Gross puts in for that every year and normally gets it. The amounts change sometimes, but.
It's a per capita grant, so it's based on the number of students you have. And we did receive it this year, so all is well.
Moving on to 6.4, the resignation of Dean Azier as department chair, and 6.5, resignation of Mr. Highgrader, head volleyball coach.
In both these cases, it's not, and I'll start with Deanna. Deanna just is looking to freshen things up. That's the best way to put it. So she's not upset with anything. There's no big issue. She wants somebody else to have a turn to run the department. That's what we'll do. We'll put it out. There are 4 of them in the counseling office, so we've got a 25% accuracy guess. Well, actually, about a 33% accuracy guess of who we're going to be able to select. So we'll figure it out. Krista Highgrader is resigning from volleyball. Really, this has to do with personal things. Her kids are getting to the age where they're very active, and she missed a lot of her daughter's activities, her son's activities tied to the demands of volleyball, and she just would like to be able to do a little more with her family, to be quite frank, because I'm sure there will be questions about it, but that's the gist.
6.6, other. Is there any other discussion that we have to list that someone would like to talk about? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda for January 2018. The minutes of 7.11, regular board meeting minutes, December 11th, 2017. 7.12, facilities committee meeting minutes of December 18th. 7.13, facilities committee meetings of January 10th. And then 7.14, executive meeting minutes, December 11th. And then we have the bills. We can do the whole consent. 7.2 for bills, and the 4 different bills, active balances are listed there. And so is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as stands?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on any of those items?
I was just going to say, I got late to the December facilities, but I was there. And it listed as not, so just a
Okay.
small thing.
Can we, well, if it's okay with everybody, we'll approve that as amended.
Fine with me.
Do you get the timeline there, Brian, or did
Like
you?
5:05 or something.
Okay. It's in December.
Yeah, December 18th.
Okay.
Started at 5, I got there about 5 minutes late. Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the amended consent agenda as stated? And we did that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Fisher,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Ward? Yes. Nelson?
yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Moving on to action items with personnel employment. 8.11, employment of certified staff. A motion to recommend, wait for 1 year. Is that what we're doing? Okay, approve the employment of Larry Spilik, a long-term sub-counselor. And then,
Yes.
and then 8.11B, approve employment of Randy Merchant, long-term sub-PE health teacher. And so I'm asking for a motion to approve the recommendation under action items 8.11A and 8.11B for certified employment as presented.
I move.
Second.
Motion and second.
Question.
Yeah, questions?
I like, when we're hiring long-term subs, I'm more interested in their background usually, so I know Mr. Marston,
Okay.
but Mr. Spilik, just, real brief.
He retired from Richwoods?
From Pekin.
Sorry, I apologize. Actually, he's come in a couple times for us in the counseling office to perform long-term sub duties for maternity leaves. This is his third tour of duty in the last 2 years, and he's been phenomenal. He's tremendous in there, and picks up right where we left off and keeps the ship even keeled and floating forward. So we've been very pleased with Mr. Spivey. He's been a great addition. It's almost getting to the point where I need to send him a Christmas card. So,
It's an endorsement then.
yes.
Is there any other further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Nelson, yes. Fisher,
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. 8.12, employment of non-certified staff. And that would be approval of employment of Joseph Wright, maintenance specialist for HVAC.
Yeah, we had several candidates apply for this, and we narrowed our, we had two really just outstanding candidates that we could have gone with either one of them. Joe has a little bit more in-depth experience with working with schools and similar type organizations, specifically with a different type of HVAC units. He's got great experience with the plethora of HVAC units that we have here, and so we're recommending to bring him on board, and he's available. He could start as soon as board approves.
He's knowledgeable and experienced in the proposed HVAC system we're talking about.
He is, and once we get the controls up and operational, yeah, I believe with the ECSI, that will be another item later. It's such a user-friendly, he'll go through the same training, so the timing is really good. But what he will be able to bring in is that subject matter expertise, being able to work everything from our boilers to our Dakin units and the horseshoe, and having a good understanding of those type of units.
That'd be helpful.
Yes.
Is the recommendation for a motion to approve the recommendation for the employee of Joseph Wright in the position of maintenance specialist HVAC at a rate of 24.50?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Butler.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Knopfinger. Yes. Fisher.
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Moving on to 8.13, leave of absences requests. Hold on, my computer here's not moving. Okay, we're making a recommendation for the motion of leave request for Sean Kerwin and Caleb Baumgarten. Okay?
Both of them are tied to medical issues, so you were able to see Sean's is a little bit shorter. His should be coming to an end soon. Actually started between the board meetings, so this is the official approval. And then Caleb starts soon and is a 14-month request.
Is there a motion to recommendation for the action item 8.13A and 8.13B for leave of absence request?
So moved.
Motion and second. Roll call, please. Knopfinger?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Ward? Yes. Motion carries. 8.2, approve MOU security cameras. We've been working on those a little bit.
The MOU was brought last month as an information item. Quick background on that, it's a discussion between us and the WEA ensuring that the purpose for security cameras in certain areas, just to make sure that they're utilized for the purpose that they're set up. So,
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the Washington District 308 and WEA for the use of security cameras as recommended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please. Ward? Yes. Knopfinger?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. On to 8.3, approve the trip request for Europe of 2019.
brought that last month also as an information item. If you've never been to Europe, this is your opportunity to approve a trip to Europe for somebody. So anyway, we looked at it. I don't think there were any big questions last month, and we're just asking that it be approved. It's based on the number of students that have interest anyway and can afford the trip. So,
Is there a motion to approve the request of host a 12 to 17-day trip to Europe in the June of 2019 as requested in his letter, Nathan Sidwell's?
So moved.
So moved, second. Roll call, please.
Knopfinger? Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Ward? Yes. Motion carries. Now we're talking about a contract with Bradley University for the Coliseum for graduation in May of 2019. That's where you brought up the date?
yes. You can see the estimated costs. So what you would be approving is for us to sign a contract with Bradley based on these cost structures, totaling, I believe, at $7,085.50.
Now with approval on that, then we won't be setting up for the graduations and worried about the weather and...
They take care of everything, so we show up, go through the ceremony. They worry about seating, they worry about big screens, they worry about microphones, speakers. All of it becomes their issue, and so it's kind of nice. And bear in mind, we're only asking this because we have actually, we're out of the You'll hear it this year if we have to go inside, I promise you. You will get a lot of fan mail on that one.
And there won't be limited seating for families by going to Bradley.
I think we determined that we could have over 10 tickets per family, which basically means it's pretty much up. Because you have a lot of families that'll take 3 or 4, and you might have a family that shows up with 15. So with over 4,000 seats in the auditorium, there's also standing room around outside. There's a lot of space there.
And there's quite a few other schools that do that,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the whole day prior to this is a Sunday. The Saturday before is all the Peoria 150 schools.
And once we commit to this contract, we'll plan on having graduation in that location regardless of the weather next year. It's a
Absolutely.
decision to have it in that location.
Absolutely. It means no more calls to weathermen to find out if we're able to go outside. So,
I think it's something new, but I believe once they do that, that we do that, it might be a very nice option. I've been to graduations that didn't actually do it. But we do a nice job too, but we just didn't know what we were doing until that morning, so. Makes it
Yeah,
difficult.
no, windy. A little cooler times, bring your blankets. So, if we go outside, we try.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the contract with Bradley University for the use of the Renaissance Center Coliseum for the 2019 WCHS graduation ceremony as recommended? Motion and second. Roll call, please. Fisher?
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knopfinger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to 8.5. Approve PJ Hare as the construction manager as presented. It's the proposal.
Attached to this item, you can see the proposed fee schedule from PJ Hare. Basically, what we are asking is for you to approve those price ranges. We'll get together with them and put a contract together. I'll get you the language. If anybody has any concerns or wants to discuss at that point, then we can always go back and negotiate further. This also comes after we had a good facilities committee meeting last week, had a good conversation on this topic, and this is coming as a recommendation from the facility committee, so you don't need a motion or a second.
We did talk about that facilities, and it was a good conversation. And it's been needed. So, if there's no further questions, roll call. Need a motion. We came from committee.
Yep.
From finance, or facilities committee. Roll call, Butler.
Yes.
Ward. Yes. Knopfinger.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to 8.6, approve the HVAC controls project.
This was also a facilities committee meeting discussion. We were pretty active meeting. The purpose behind the controls discussion, I believe this has come to the board before. You've seen bits and pieces of it in Friday letters and information. We have old controls that are pneumatic, which means in a lot of cases, if something's wrong, let's say one of the classrooms tied to the boiler and the heat is off, they'd have to call up Ryan, who will then walk into a back room and give like a half twist to a knob and ask everybody to wait for 30 minutes to see what happens. This would be actually having electronics that put a temperature in that room. I know it's crazy thought. So that he could get on the computer and change it via computer. The other thing that's nice about it is with a fully interactive HVAC control system, you can turn down at night and increase during the day when students are present. So we can schedule times for kind of like you do in your homes now with some of the newer systems, where when people aren't there, you're not utilizing as much energy. The payoff for this, and I'm really probably stealing all of Dr. Sanders' thunder at this point and should
No,
stop.
you're doing a fine job.
The payoff for this, I think, was 4.8 years,
Just over 4 years.
just over 4 years. So it will pay itself off in 4 years, and then from then on, we're ahead of the game because we've made big efficient moves in energy savings. So this is actually pretty well recommended.
Pretty straightforward. Plus, we had some maintenance budget we're gonna have to do anyway, so I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and we can afford it, so. It's
And was this part of the Ameren possible having grants?
Yes, yeah.
It's like,
ECSI will handle all the incentive rebates that go with it. And so how that works is we'll pay for it up front, and then we'll get a rebate check back from Ameren once the work is done. And so the total cost of the project is very manageable, and it's going to be broken into 2 phases. We're asking the board to approve phase 1 this year so that we can get started, and then phase 2 will take place over the summer. I just brought up the schedule, the different areas where they would be bringing this all underneath one umbrella. And it's, web-based controls, which our maintenance guys and a handful of others will have access to through their phone. Anyway.
Do you have dampers to all these little, each room has its own damper?
I believe there will be a control, and so some of our, we've got a wide variety of different units, and some of them work quite well. The 2012 edition, we can go in and we can electronically adjust things and feel the change almost immediately. And then we have stuff that we actually use ratchet straps to hold a damper open, and that will be replaced and tied in with the new controls. So that's what happens when you have buildings of 1942 and 1975 and 60s and 56 edition.
It's going to be a lot of work.
It is. But we should recoup a lot of savings. Most of us have, a digital thermostat at home, and we do this anyway. We dial it back in the evenings to save some dollars, and so that's what we'll be able to do. And then during those down periods, the weekends and breaks. The building is still occupied. This place never sleeps. 365 days a year, I think, almost. Maybe we'll take 2 days off out of that. But outside of that, we can easily adjust the schedules.
well, thanks for putting all this together, and I know Ryan was working on this quite a bit with ECSI, and they did a nice presentation and explanation for us, and I believe this one came from committee also.
And it's just phase 1.
So it's phase 1 from committee to accept it. Any other questions on it? Be kind of exciting when it's all put together.
Well,
Roll call, please. Armstrong.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Ward. Yes. Knopfinger.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to, well, I guess that's it. We're going into executive session for 9.1 for student disciplinary cases, and 9.2 discussions, minutes, and meetings of lawfully disclosed, whether in purposes of approval for the body of the minutes of the semi-annual review of minutes as mandated by section 2.06. And there will be an action item following the executive session.
Yeah, it's just approving which minutes go open and which remain closed.
Is there a motion to go into executive session? Motion second. Roll call, please. Knopfinger.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Ward. Yes.
these things.
It didn't hurt or run.